Good evening, everyone. Before we get started, like Ms. Reagan Copeland said, my name is LaKanya Connor. I am a school counselor with Duval County Public Schools, and I actually work with all of your high school counselors that are here in the Duval County Public School, as well as some of our charter schools. So my job is to support counselors as we provide a comprehensive school counseling plan. So tonight, what we're going to be talking about is just graduation requirements, the difference between a high school diploma and a certificate of completion. So hopefully, if you're seniors on here, I'm gonna give you a minute in order for you to share your school and also your grade level so that I know who is on the line. But this information will be shared again to our seniors this year. So just be prepared. You all will have that upper hand because you already would seen the PowerPoint. So we're going to get started. Before I start sharing my screen, I am going to ask you all to put in the chat your school and also your age. Your grade level. So if you don't mind just taking a minute, put in your school and your grade level. Okay, this is a PowerPoint. The PowerPoint is probably going to take about 15 minutes. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about what the graduation requirements are and the difference between a high school diploma and a certificate of completion. So this is going to be very helpful information for all of you in grades 9 through 11, particularly, so you'll know exactly what it is that you need to do in order for you to achieve that high school diploma. And also the 12th graders that are on here, if you have questions between the two or if you have not passed your assessments, then this is going to be a good opportunity for you to find out what it is that you need to do in order for you to be eligible to receive a high school diploma. So we're going to go ahead and get started. Again, greetings. My name is LaKanya Connor. I am a district specialist with Duval County Public School Counseling Department. This PowerPoint will provide parents and students with the credits, assessment, and grade point average required to obtain a high school diploma. According to Florida law, students must meet certain academic requirements to earn a standard high school diploma from a public school. This means that students must pass the required courses, earn a minimum number of credits, earn a minimum grade point average, and pass the required statewide assessment. Students who meet these requirements but do not pass the required assessment will receive a certificate of completion, which is not equivalent to a standard high school diploma. Passing scores for the statewide assessments are determined by the State Board of Education. After viewing this PowerPoint and you have additional questions that we may or may not get to this evening, please reach out to your school counselor and schedule an appointment. Okay, just one second. Okay, there we go. For a student to receive a high school diploma, they must meet the following criteria. They must pass the required course requirement, earn a minimum number of credits that they need, whether it's 24 or 18, earn the minimum GPA, which is a 2.0, and then pass the required assessment needed for graduation. Students who do not pass the required assessment will receive a certificate of completion, which is not equivalent to a high school diploma. On April 9, 2001, the Department of Education and the Commissioner, Richard Coron, used an executive authority to support the Florida Division of Emergency Management to ensure Florida citizens are kept safe in response to COVID-19. Solely for students who were expected to graduate in 2021, a school district was authorized to waive the required state assessment for graduation if the district determines on a case-by-case basis that the student's high school record established a comparable level of achievement. This does not apply to the class of 2022 or our fifth-year seniors. So what that means, students, is that at this point, you are required to take and pass the required assessment needed for graduation. Florida students entering ninth grade may choose from one of 5 options to earn a standard diploma. There are the 24 credit, the 18 credit, the academically challenging curriculum to enhance learning, which is called Excel, career and technical education, international baccalaureate, which is our IB curriculum, and advanced international certificate of education, which is our ACE curriculum. In addition to the 5 options available for students to earn a standard high school diploma, our state legislative high school graduation requirements for students with disabilities also outlines 2 additional options that students with disabilities may complete. For the purpose of this meeting, I will focus on our 2 most popular standard diplomas, the 24 credit standard diploma and the 18 credit accelerated Excel diploma option. Students may elect from the other 3 options and are encouraged to see their school counselors for diploma requirements. Beginning with students entering ninth grade in the 2013-2014 school year, receipt of a standard high school diploma requires successful completion of 24 credits. The school district must notify students and parents of the requirements for a high school standard diploma. The available designations, because we do have different designation, whether that be scholar or honors, and the eligibility requirements for state scholarship programs and post-secondary admissions. Standard high school diploma course requirements are as follows. 4 credits in English, language arts, to include English 1, 2, 3, or 4, or the equivalent courses. Some of you may be in ACE, some of you may be in honors, AP, dual enrollment. 4 credits in math, to include Algebra 1 and geometry, which are required, as well as 2 additional math courses. 3 credits in science, to include biology, and 2 credits in an equally rigorous course with a lab component. 3 credits in social studies, to include U.S. history, world history, a half credit of economics, and a half credit in American government. 2 credits in world language. The world language must be the same. For example, Spanish 1, Spanish 2, or Spanish 2, Spanish 3. It just has to be 2 of the same world language. 1 credit in a fine art or performing fine art, such as speech, debate, or practical fine art. 1 credit in physical education, to include HOPE. And then 8 credits in electives. Remember, this is your 24 credit diploma option. You also have an online course requirement. At least 1 course within the 24 credits required under this session must be completed through online learning. Please note, it's 1 course online. So if you take, let's say, English 1 online, which is a full credit, you must complete the full credit in order for that to meet your online requirement. Or you can take driver's ed, which is a half credit, and you will still meet the online requirement. So you have to take 1 course, whether it's full or half of a credit of a course, in order for you to meet the online requirement. The 18 credit accelerated standard diploma, the academic requirements, which consist of our English, math, science, and social studies requirement, are identical to the 24th credit requirement. Students are required to have 1 credit in performing fine art and 3 credits in the electives. So please note, if you opt to do the 18 credit diploma, you're not required to take the HOPE class or the foreign language courses, and you do not have to meet the online requirement. Students and families should contact our exceptional education and student services for specific requirements for students with disabilities. The ELA reading assessment students must pass to graduate with a standard high school diploma is determined by each student's year of enrollment in ninth grade. So when you're speaking with your counselors, then your counselors are constantly asking you, what is the year that you enter ninth grade? Not necessarily your grade level, because the two can be different. The Florida Standard Assessment, which is the FSA, aligned to the Florida standards, were introduced in 2014-15 school year. And the grade 10 FSA ELA assessment was first administered in the spring of 2015. This slide shows the required passing score for the grade 10 FSA ELA reading and writing, which is what it is, parents, based on grade cohort, ninth grade cohort 14-15 until right now, till current. The Algebra 1 EOC assessment student must pass to graduate with a standard high school diploma is determined by when students completed Algebra 1 or an equivalent course. Students who completed an applicable course in the 2014-15 school year and beyond are required to pass the FSA Algebra 1 EOC assessment, which is the inner course exam. And the required passing score is determined when the student first participated in an FSA Algebra 1 EOC assessment administration. The FSA Algebra 1 EOC assessment was first administered in the spring of 2015. This table shows the required passing score for the FSA Algebra 1 EOC assessment based on when the student first participated. The graduation GPA, a specified grade point average, is required for graduation. Students who entered ninth grade during the 1997-98 school year and thereafter must have a 2.0 cumulative GPA in courses required for graduation. Statewide assessment retake. So this is another option for you to meet your assessment requirement for graduation. So again, the requirements for graduation for your assessments are the Algebra 1 EOC, as well as the FSA ELA. So these are some other options for you in order for you to meet those testing requirements. Statewide assessment retakes. Students can retake grade 10 FSA ELA assessment or the FSA Algebra 1 EOC assessment each time the test is administered until they achieve a passing score. And students can continue their high school education beyond 12th grade year should they need additional instruction. Students who do not pass the grade 10 ELA assessment in the spring of their 10th grade year may retake in the fall and the spring of their 11th and 12th grade years. The FSA ELA retake assessment is administered each fall and spring administration. The FSA Algebra 1 EOC assessment is administered in each fall, winter, spring, and summer EOC administration. Concordant and comparative scores. A student can also meet assessment graduation requirements by earning a concordant or comparative scores as specific in legislation, which is our Florida Administrative Code. This slide shows the concordant and comparative scores students may use to satisfy assessment graduation requirements. So you see the PSAT, MSQT, the SAT math, the ACT math, and then as well as the FSA geometry. Those are alternative ways that our students can earn the required assessments that they need in order for them to meet the graduation requirements for assessment. So a lot of times I get calls from parents who ask, is the ACT and the SAT a requirement for graduation? It's not a requirement. It's an alternative for your students to receive the passing score that they need in order for them to meet the graduation requirement. We also encourage students to take the ACT, the SAT, and the PERT. That was for our older students, our current 12th graders, in order for them to be post-secondary ready. That is, if they're planning to attend a college, a career, some type of post-secondary 2-year or 4-year university or college or community college. So we just want to make sure that we prep them as much as possible prior to them leaving high school in order for them to be successful with their post-secondary options. A student who earns the required 24 credits or the required 18 credits under the state statute and passes the assessment required and achieves the 2.0 GPA shall be awarded a standard high school diploma. A student who earns the required 24 credit or the required 18 credits but fails to pass the assessment required or achieve the 2.0 GPA shall be awarded a certificate of completion in a form prescribed by the State Board of Education. Students are encouraged to continue taking the required assessment to receive their high school diploma at a later date. A certificate of completion is also awarded to students who have completed the minimum number of credits and all other requirements prescribed by the local school board but fail to meet at least one of the criteria, fail to achieve a 2.0 GPA on a 4.0 scale, or fail to achieve a cumulative GPA of a 2.0 on a 4.0 scale and fail to earn a passing score on the state-approved graduation test or the alternative assessments that are provided. So what does the diploma get you? Well, why should I get a high school diploma, you may ask, versus a certificate of completion? First of all, who wants to go through school for 4 years and only earn a certificate of completion? You want to earn something that is, of course, recognized by the state of Florida and that you have earned your high school diploma. Students who earn their high school diploma will be able to, they're eligible to apply to post-secondary institutions, state college or universities, based on, of course, the admission criteria. Eligible to apply for and receive financial aid, including federal and state aid, scholarships, and loans. This includes the Florida Bright Future Scholarship, which is based on merit. All you have to do is make the grade and the score and the GPA. And also get connected to the FAFSA, which is Federal Assistance for Financial Student Aid. Eligible to enlist in the armed forces, and then eligible to entry-level workforce opportunities requiring a high school diploma. Certain jobs are going to require that, and if you don't show proof or have that the high school diploma, then you are going to be ineligible for those types of jobs. A certificate of completion and their limited opportunities. Students earning a college placement test eligible certificate of completion may be admitted to a state community college with limitations. So we do have students who make it all the way through 12th grade, have a GPA, the required GPA, however, and they've taken the college placement test, however, they have not met the requirements in order for them to receive the assessment. They haven't done the assessment, met the assessment requirement. Then these students can enter community college. However, they have limitations. They have limitations on program opportunities. So you can't just enter every program that, let's just say FSCJ, because some of the programs require that you have a high school diploma. Some of them our students are not eligible to receive financial aid. So if you don't have a high school diploma, you cannot apply for financial aid. Limitations on career opportunities that require a high school diploma for licensure or certification. Ineligible to enlist in certain armed forces, U.S. Armed Forces, and then limitations to entry-level workforce requiring a high school diploma as a minimum job qualifier. Participating in, we can't say this enough, and I want to reiterate this to parents as well. A certificate of completion is not a high school diploma. Participating in commencement ceremonies does not make you a high school diploma, a high school graduate. So just because people participate, all your friends participate, you go home, it does not mean that you've met the requirements for a high school diploma. You should have a conversation with your counselor, and there should be documentation that should be shared with the parent in order for parents to understand that your child is participating but is not a graduate. We allow that because, it is that once in a lifetime opportunity for students. However, we want to make sure that you understand that they have not, in most cases, met the assessment requirement for graduation, and they will have opportunities afterwards, but they can participate in the ceremony. While there are no observable differences between the students receiving a high school diploma and a certificate of completion, please remember that a certificate of completion is not a graduate, and therefore not granted the same rights and opportunities as a student receiving a high school diploma. This is just a chart that we wanted to share. These education categories reflect only the highest level of education attainment. They do not consider completion of training programs in the form of apprenticeships and other on-the-job trainings, which may also influence earnings and unemployment rates. So just give you a moment to look at that. And what we want students to see is, in most cases, not all, we never will say all, always, but you see, when the less education you have, the less money you tend to make. So we just want to encourage you and equip you with every opportunity that you can actually have by giving you some type of training, whether it's a 4-year training or some type of certification in the CTE field. Again, just allowing you to, the importance of graduating, allow you to review that slide. You see what is the economic benefit to Jacksonville if all students graduated on time and increase the overall graduation rate. You will see the difference between economically in our community, what difference that would actually make for us. Okay, just to reiterate this slide, a student receiving a certificate of completion, which is a post-secondary education readiness test, eligible certificate of completion, or a certificate of completion from the post-secondary readiness, is eligible to participate in commencement if she or he has completed the following requirements. So the students have to have participated in all FSA reading or other required state reading assessment administration and the Algebra 1 EOC administration, if applicable, that they were eligible for, and made at least one attempt to earn a concordant score on the ACT and or the SAT to meet the reading graduation test requirement, and made at least one attempt on the PERT, if applicable, because some of our students are not eligible to take the PERT test, or the PSAT, NM, SQT, SAT, or ACT to meet the comparative score for the Algebra 1 graduation test requirements. Students receiving a certificate of completion are not eligible to participate in commencement, but may participate in, like summer commencement is usually what we would have in September, within the following year after completing the diploma requirements. Students receiving a special certificate of completion are eligible to participate in commencement. So you still have time. What do? Here are some things that you can do in order to ensure that you meet those requirements that are needed for graduation. Start by getting involved with your education. Look at your schedule. You know what the graduation requirements are. Once you arm yourself with what's required, make sure your schedule aligns with that. Counselors do have protocol systems in place to catch certain things. However, we want to make sure that you are your first line of defense and you're looking at your schedule and notice, hey, I need 4 English according to what this says, and this year I don't have an English class. It must be a mistake. So things do happen, and we definitely want to recognize that. So if you see things like that that stand out, or you hear your friends say things like that, please tell them, hey, I think that's a mistake. Because sometimes, for some reason, you all think we've done you a favor by not giving you an English or a math class. Well, if you need 4 and you have 4 years to complete it, that means you have to have 1 each year. So it's likely a mistake. So make sure you see your school counselor regarding that. Schedule a conference with your school counselor to review graduation status. Schedule a conference with teachers of the courses in which you might need additional assistance. So don't wait till the last minute when you're seeing that you're struggling in a class. Sometimes you may be not in the right class, or the class is not what you thought it was going to be. So if it's something that we can do to change that or help you, or safety nets, or what that may look like, definitely reach out to your school counselors, talk to your teachers, talk to your parents, just to make sure that, you know, this class is working for you and you are getting the best out of the class. Take advantage of test prep and boot camp opportunities, and also register for and re-register for the SAT or the ACT. So that's really important, especially for our seniors. I know I had at least one senior on here. If you have not passed the required assessment, or you know friends that have not passed the required assessment, please, please, please reach out to your school counselors. They should have already reached out to you, doing your senior credit checks, letting you know what your options are at this point, and encouraging you to take some of those alternative tests. Remember, students should be aware, and I did say this, but I know some people may have gotten a little, parents may have gotten a little convoluted with some of the abbreviations and acronyms and what have you. But students, the FSA ELA, which is our Florida Standard Assessment English, which is our reading assessment that's required for graduation. That particular test is only administered twice a year. So your 10th graders is where it counts. When you're taking it as a 10th grader, FSA, ELA, as a 10th grader, you're usually taking it around March, April timeframe. That's where it counts. You take it, you pass it, you're done. So everything after that, parents, students, if you're taking it in the 11th and 12th grade, those are retakes. You're taking that 10th grade test that you were not successful on. It's another opportunity for you to take the FSA ELA and meet the graduation requirement. It's only given twice a year. We cannot control that. It's a state administered test. So that's why we encourage our students to take the ACT or the SAT, because those tests are offered multiple times. We do not control that. That is a national test. And I think between the two, it's offered 13 times a year. So we encourage those students to take those tests as an alternative, as a backup, in order for them to meet the graduation requirement. Okay. So I am going to open it up for questions. I'm not sure if, Reagan, we have questions in the chat, but I will stop presenting and just open it up for questions.
We do not have any questions yet, but parents and caregivers, now is your time.
I have a question. What are the reading requirements for graduation?
The student must pass the FSA ELA. It's an assessment requirement. So are you asking about a specific course or the assessment requirement?
The assessment requirement.
So it's the FSA, which is the Florida Standard Assessment,
Mhm.
ELA.
Okay.
So the students must pass that their 10th grade year in order for them to meet the graduation requirement. If they're taken any time after that, it's a retake. That meant that
Okay.
they did
So
not.
if she's a transfer and she just transferred here to Florida, would that still be a requirement for her?
Yes, it is a requirement for her. Is she military? Are you military?
No.
Okay, yes, it is a requirement.
Okay.
I have a question.
Mhm.
How early can a student take SAT or ACT in the high school progression?
We recommend that the student take it after they've been exposed to Algebra 2. So for some students, we have students taking Algebra 2 in 8th grade now. So other other students are taking Algebra 2 generally around 11th grade. But the SAT and ACT generally has an algebra baseline of Algebra 2.
Great, thank you so much.
You're welcome. Did anyone get confused with the FSA, ELA, EOC? I know it's a lot, but the easiest thing is to get the chart. If you go to your school counseling website or speak with your school counselor, they have tools in place that they can offer you to assist you all with the acronyms and the graduation requirements based on the year that your student entered 9th grade.
If there's any other questions, LaKanya is so wonderful and will happily answer them. I don't want to keep everyone on the call longer than necessary, but I do definitely want to open it up to anyone who has a question because such service for all
Community service hours.
service hours. That was a
Yes, I have a
question.
question. I have a question. What
Mhm.
was the precaution called? What a student can do if they were struggling in classes?
It's a
Some
safety
kind of
net.
safe.
A
Okay,
safety net.
safe.
So the first thing I would do would be to speak with the teacher. Because you can talk with the counselor, but the counselor is going to redirect you to the teacher. So make sure you're looking at their focus account, attendance for their classes. If they're missing any assignments, has the teacher upgraded everything in there in focus like as it needs to be? Schedule a conference with that teacher.
Okay.
But
Okay. Thank
all teachers are required to have some type of safety net in their classes. So when you have a struggling student, what is in place in order for you to assist that student?
you. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Someone is asking, what are the community service hours to graduate? I get that a lot. Community service is not a requirement for graduation. Community service hours is a requirement for Bright Futures. So if you're a student or if you are a student, if you're eligible for Bright Futures, you are required to have the minimum amount of community service hours in order for you to meet the eligibility requirement.
All right, well, we'll call it a wrap. But ladies and gentlemen, if you think of something during the night or as soon as you hit that leave button and then you go, oh, I should have asked, send us an email, parentacademy@duvalschools.org, and we will get it to Ms. Connor. I see, where can we reach you after this? So, LaConnie, would you like them to reach directly out to you or send it to us and we can filter it, or how would you like to handle that?
They can send the questions you can send it to me directly. A lot of things that it's going to depend on your school. So I would ask you if you reached out to your school counselor first, your school counselor. But I can be reached at Connor, CONNERL, at duvalschools with an S.org.
All right. Well, I hope all of you have a wonderful evening. A recording of this class will be available on our webpage for beginning on Friday afternoon and through the remainder of the week through next Friday. You can come back and review all the information that Ms. Connor shared with you all. Send your friends, your loved ones, your neighbors. Let them learn about all of this information. It's available. And then after next week, it will go to our YouTube channel. So that's it for now. That's a wrap, folks. And I hope that you have a wonderful evening and come back for another Parent Academy course soon. Take care, everyone. Good night.